Everybody, and welcome back. And last week's video we covered the 8th and 9th instance of how the Israelites had tested God again and again. We saw how the Israelites had done this once again against God. Though God gave them the punishment, they still had not realized their sin according to God, as they still thrived through their fleshly desires. It even causes Moses to stumble in his ways because of their adamant actions, we can see. So we can see this in the 10th incident, which is recorded in the Bible. Before they entered the promised land, the Israelites decided to send 12 people 12 people from them and told Moses about that they're going to send these 12 people. Then God permitted Moses' request to send these 12 people. Once they came back after 40 days of searching of the land, and people gave their report of what this land was like. And we can read the report now in Numbers 13th chapter, 27th verse onwards. So it says, they gave Moses this account. We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. So we can see here, it says it flows with milk and honey. Here it is, fruit. But the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We even saw descendants of Anak there. So we can see here, Anakites are strong, tall people recorded in the Deuteronomy book in the 9th chapter. In the 2nd verse, we can see like the Goliath descendants, we could say, sort of like that, and they kind of exaggerated here. But then we could see Caleb, who is another group of people who's going. He tried to provide encouragement to people because he saw in a different perspective of how this place was. Not according to the others had seen through the weakness of their flesh, but how the people around them were looking and how dangerous and how powerful they looked. So we can read that in the 30th verse, what Caleb thinks about the place. Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. We can see here, but apart from Joshua and Caleb, all gave very negative reports to the people about what this place was like and how if we could go there. As we can see, they had not this sort of like hope to get this place, and rather they were in the fleshly minds of fear, as these people seemed powerful and they were like giants, like the Anakites people, like the Goliath people. But we can carry on reading till the 33rd chapter, which says, but the men who had gone up with him said, we can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are. And they spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land they had explored. They said the land we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are of great size. We saw the Nephilim, the descendants of Anak, come from Nephilim. We seemed like a grasshopper in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. Once they heard this and listened to the report from the majority, rather the faithful word of Joshua and Caleb, people started to rebel and mourn to go back to Egypt. Since once they heard this report from the majority, rather than obeying the faithful word, that Caleb and Joshua tried to encourage the people to go to this place, since they have the strength and encouragement, and he's trying to encourage them to go to this place and not be in fear. The people are showing that fear of whoever's around them, and they're in this fleshly mindset because they feel that they're grasshoppers in their kind of size and they could easily be squished by them, and they're in the fear of these Anakites people instead of God himself here. And we can see that Israel start to rebel once again, and they say they want to go back to Egypt. And yeah, so we can read it, and it says in the 14th chapter, where the Israelites, we can see once they started to mourn and rebel about wanting to go back to Egypt after the consideration of their point that majority from the faith, rather than following the faithful word, the majority once they heard the report, rather than following it, they did not follow the faithful word of Caleb and Joshua. Rather, they were following this fearful, fleshly route of being scared of the ginormous and powerful people in the land, and not having the courage to go to this land. So we can see in the 14th chapter, now we can read till verse 4, which says, "That night all the members of the community raised their voice and wept aloud. All the Israelites grumbled against Moses once again. And Aaron and the whole assembly said to them, 'If only we had died in Egypt or in this wilderness. Why is the Lord bringing us to this land only to let us fall by the sword? Our wives and children will be taken as plunder. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt?' And they said to each other, 'We should choose a leader and go back to Egypt.'" So once again, we can see how the Israelites have been disobeyed God in the 10th instance, once again by the fleshly mindset, controlling their fear of not wanting to show their God's children that courage, and having that fear towards Anakites more than towards God, we can see here. And because of that, we can see they started to grumble and go against Moses and rebel against him once again, and start to moan to go back to Egypt, as they wish to die there and not die in this place, as now they are stuck in this place because of what's going on around them, as they wish to not die here. And we can see once again they're bringing up these problems like before, even in the 10th instant, after everything that's happened in this time from the 1st to 10th instance. They do this once again, this grumbling, just because of how the fleshly mindset controls their fear now, we can see. So we can see from the start that what we learned today is that Moses, Israel, before they entered the promised land, Israel decided to send 12 people and told Moses, and they told Moses they were going to send 12 people. We understand God agreed to this plan to send the 12 people, and after 40 days of searching in this place, we can see that this place had huge nutrition and milk and honey and fruit for them to survive in. But they said there were powerful cities of the fortified and very large Anakites. These are the descendants of the Anakites we could see here. And they start to exaggerate how powerful these beings on this land were. And they said that no matter how much we try to go here, we are just like grasshoppers to them, and we could be easily squished. And they had this fear inside them, as the fleshly mindset, that they were scared of these Anakites who were descendants of the tall people, rather than having the fear towards God. But then we can see Caleb, who is trying to provide encouragement to the people, because he saw a different perspective, not according to the others, and had seen the weakness in the flesh. Rather, he had a different perspective that we can certainly go to this land and survive in this land. But only Joshua had supported Caleb, and the rest had only a negative report to them. And once we can see that, once they heard all the reports, rather than following the majority, rather than following the faithful word of Joshua and Caleb to stride on and have no fear against others, and not have that fleshly fear of the flesh around them, as seeing these tall people and being scared, rather they should stride ahead and focus and not show the weakness in their flesh. They do not, and they start to rebel and mourn against Moses, wanting to go back to Egypt. As they've had enough of this, we can see, as they raised their voices and grumbled against Moses, "If only we had died in Egypt," they say once again, "or in this wilderness." And they say, "Wouldn't it be better for us to go to Egypt?" And they start to say they want to go back to Egypt by choosing a leader once again. So we can see them grumbling once again and showing their negative attitude, and their fleshly mindset is controlling them to go opposite to God once again by seeing these fleshly beings of supreme height and strength and power. They suddenly get scared of them, and they feel that they have no chance against them, as they're grasshoppers compared to their size. So we can see how the Israelites have been once again sort of deceived by God, deceived by Satan's ways, deceived, and to be going into the wrong way once again, and disobey God and not follow the right path to enter this land. Rather, they go into the hiding and scared way, which they should not have, and due to having this way, they start to grumble and go against Moses. So that's all for today. See you next time. Bye.